Hey there friends, Jim Miller with Pure Gravel coming at you with another episode of the Pre-Ride Show. We are in the heart of the expo here today we're not just in Asheville, just a little outside in Hendersonville, North Carolina at the Kanuga Resort. It's a beautiful spot. And I get a few minutes to sit down here with my man John Murphy. Murph, how you doing, buddy?
Doing pretty good.
Right
Glad
on.
this event's finally here.
Oh, it has been a lot of work getting here.
It's been a lot of fun, yeah.
You've been integral to that, and I want to talk about that in a second, but I want to first start with, you're very pro anyway, but you're a retired professional cyclist.
Yeah.
How many years did you hold that distinction of being a pro cyclist?
You know, in the beginning it gets a little bit gray, but 15 years.
Okay.
15, 16, 17 years, something like that.
And a whole bunch of years of that was with the UHC team.
Yeah, most of them were with UHC. Probably about half those years were in some form of what the UHC team was, whether it was HealthNet or Ouch or United Healthcare, yeah. Yep.
And we've talked a lot about this, but I find it fascinating. You hold an interesting distinction in my mind, in that you're one of very few American cyclists to not only race in ParisRoubaix, but finish it a number of times.
Sure, yep. Mm-hmm.
For me, that's just one of the ultimate races that any cyclist could ever want to achieve. What's that experience like when you enter the velodrome?
Goosebumps, chills, you've conquered a beast. And you know, I always hoped and dreamed of it being a race for the win there. Unfortunately, that never came in my career, but just making it there is a feat of itself.
You watch it on TV, it's obviously an incredibly demanding race and things like that. What's it like in the middle of some of those gnarlier sectors, and what's going on? What's the sound? What's the feel? Like, are you even thinking, or are you just having to completely react to everything going on around you?
Yeah, it's a lot of reacting. It's always mayhem. Chaos is the best way to describe it. It's a field sprint going into every single sector if you're in the group. Now, if you're in the breakaway, which I was lucky enough to do one year, much calmer, much better way to ride that race. Hard to win the race in the breakaway, but it's a much smoother ride. It's a different experience than if you're in the main group. In the main group, you literally do a field sprint into every section, and it's basically a field sprint out of every section. And there's always people crashing. There's always bikes breaking. It's always mayhem. So probably pretty similar to what's going to happen out there tomorrow.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that then, because that's important. You've played a key role in a lot of elements of bringing BWR here to North Carolina. One of those being the development of the course. We came out with some direction on you a couple months back, did some recon, and then that took shape and to give us the course that we have today. Well, what are the riders going to expect? Just to set the frame a little bit here, we're going to have muggy conditions, typical for this time of year. Could get a little rain. We've had a tremendous amount of rain leading up to this, to the point where we might have to reroute a small portion of the course, part of the course. But what can these riders expect from this terrain here in western North Carolina?
I would expect, first of all, the unexpected. I would expect a long day. I'm telling every rider that's asking me for advice that this is going to be the longest 100 miles you've ever done. It's going to take a much longer time.
See, Michael wants 145. Michael wants this thing to be 145, and he was a little miffed that we took it down to 104. But
yeah.
You're saying 104 is going to be plenty.
I'm saying that's going to be plenty. Now, we can talk to riders after this first run, and we can decide from there. But my feeling is that, you know, from mile 5 to mile 95, people are going to be in the hurt locker all day long. And almost all the climbing is on gravel. It's going to be extremely difficult. It's going to be demanding on your bike. It's going to be demanding mentally because of how fast the sections come in the race. Like, you don't get a 10-mile, pavement, a rollout, or a 10-mile cruise into the finish. It's going to be demanding from the start to finish all day long.
One thing I noticed, it's never straight, it's never flat. You're constantly going up and down around corners, and even the gravel roads and they're all beautiful, by the way, just spectacular. Forested, canopied trees and things like that. There's a beautiful lake that we get to circumnavigate at one point of the route. There's some beautiful terrain out here, man.
You're never short of a view, and you're never going to see the rider in front of you if they're more than 15 seconds. So it's going to bode really well for a breakaway or for a lead rider. So I'm not saying go on a suicide mission and go from the gun, but once you get a small gap, you're going to be out of sight, and you know what they say, out of sight, out of mind.
Yep.
So I expect to see a huge explosion on the first climb on Lake Falls, and I don't think it'll ever come back together. I think it's going to be a wild ride out there, and people are going to be kind of doing their own thing, time trial mode.
Yeah, and while the water does seem to have been absorbed pretty well in a lot of spots, it could create a lot of ruts and things like that, especially on the descents that can make it a little even more trickier.
We get, first of all, we get a ton of rain in this area. We're a temperate rainforest, so, you know, like we said in the very beginning, it's probably going to rain. You know, when we were doing the course, we knew we would be dealing with rain. Now, did we expect to be dealing with the amount of rain that we got this week? Absolutely not. I think we're 20 years, 30 years back last time we got rain like this. We got almost 18 inches of rain Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah.
18 inches, maybe more. And it keeps raining.
Yeah.
So we've got crazy areas that have like floods that took cars. So we have like, you know, multiple feet of some areas of flooding. And a lot of it's going down, but we have with a lot to contend with this rain. And you're going to see some added ruts out there that just showed up. So if you rode this course last week, it's going to be a little bit different tomorrow.
Yeah. You're a native now of this area. You obviously love it. What's post-pro cyclist life like for you now? What are you up to these days?
Yeah, so you know, I love cycling. Spent my whole life in the sport, and now I'm working for this amazing company, Gulo Composites. We do carbon wheels for gravel bikes, road bikes, and mountain bikes. But more specifically, we manufacture a carbon composite spoke here in Brevard. So these spokes offer obviously tremendously lightweight wheels, but they're also extremely bomb-proof, very strong. We have a lifetime warranty on our wheels. But more importantly is the ride quality. What you get from our wheels is not just this ultralight wheel that you can ride every single day, but the carbon has vibration dampening that you would expect, but they're also extremely stiff and fast. So it kind of checks all the boxes for a wheel set that you want to do everything, but it's different than everything else on the market because it's not your typical stainless steel spokes.
Right on.
And we back our wheels 100%. So you also kind of buy into our tribe on this side and get to kind of be a part of our team and our family.
Sounds like the set of wheels you're going to want to have for tomorrow's ride.
I would recommend it.
Right on. Some good times here with my man John Murphy. This is Jim Miller with the Pure Gravel Pre-Ride Show. Thanks for tuning in, and make sure to subscribe and also check the little bell next to it so you get notifications of all the future episodes that are going to drop during our time here in North Carolina. Thanks for looking in.